am going to show you today how to make a more unusual cane. Yeah, my hands look very red because I have set the maximum contrast on the video because I will be working with translucent, at least in the beginning of the video. I will be working with translucent clay on a white background, and I wanted you to be able to see what I'm doing. So no, I did not burn my hands. I did not get super tan. It's just a video effect. Okay, so we will be we will be covering a bowl in slices of translucent cane, fall leaves. Now, and as I said, it's a little bit more of an unusual cane, not exactly the middle of the road cane you're used to. Kind of a combination between a Mokume special effects, Tintin, and all that good stuff. So the bowl itself, I got it at the Dollar Tree, so it was only $1, and we are going to transform it into something marvelous. Now, I have posted a pictorial tutorial on my blog, and you will have the link on a card and in the description of the video. I just didn't want to make the video way too long. So when you'll see me putting slices of another cane, it's the cane from that tutorial on my blog. So you can go there and see how to make it. What we do first, this will have to come off, okay? It's just temporarily. What we do first, you get your translucent clay on the thinnest setting. This will also help you to make sure that the clay is very, very well conditioned, because we will be working with alcohol inks, and alcohol inks have the property of drying up the clay. And also we will not be making the clay too thick because we want it to be transparent. You're supposed to be able to use this as a candle holder, so a light should be able to come out of it. And if you're afraid of it melting or something, there are those little LED candles that you can put in, and it will still look as beautiful as it is. So first, get all your clay, translucent clay, before we do anything else. Yeah, I got a spot here. Before we do anything else, make sure that you have enough clay to cover the whole bowl. And for that, you run all your clay into a sheet on the thinnest setting. And we want it to cover the whole thing, even if we will be adding some other kind of cane, because as we are slicing and rolling the slices thin, it will not always be the thinnest setting. So make a big square piece and then two longish rectangular pieces, and the bowl should be approximately covered. It's okay if you have little spots like this, because it's kind of come overlapping here. So you should have about this much translucent clay. Once you got this, you get it through the pasta machine, again on the thinnest setting, to get a big, wide, well, as wide as you can, sheet. So I will be doing that, and I'll be right back. So now that we start with the alcohol inks, let's just put some protection. I have a double folded paper towel with some wax paper on top. And here is my translucent clay. I went through the pasta machine on the thinnest setting. And now I'm going to start using some alcohol inks. 3 are of my own production. Remember, you just get regular permanent markers, and then you take out the felt inside and you soak it in alcohol that has to be 91% at least overnight, and then you get this. The henna bottles are more expensive than how much those inks cost. I have said that many times. So I start with yellow, and I just sprinkle a few, then I will put some orange and then some maroon, after which I will be spraying some alcohol on it and then move the whole thing around so the colors get a little bit mixed. And then use my paintbrush to make sure that the whole translucent clay surface is covered in alcohol ink. I don't want it to be even all over the place. I just want it to be covered. And after which I will put a few drops of green. This is the only one store-bought, and it's the Ranger Citrus. And I will put a few drops, and then on top of those drops I'll put a few drops of yellow to make the green kind of spread out a little bit, not sit there. And then all we have to do is wait for the whole thing to dry. But let me just change, because now we are not working with white on white anymore. Make sure that I get the colors properly. There we go. My hand is normal. Now let's wait for these to dry. Now they are dry, and I'm going to take a brush, and I am going to use this brush all over the place to make some very fine texturing, you know, just to get some of this to go in, and then make sure that it's not stuck on the wax paper. And I will cut it in as equal portions I can, because the left is a little bit thinner, but then I will just cut the so-called rectangles to be the same size, the left as on the right, and I will just put together the edges there in one single sheet. Then I will take the pieces 2 by 2 and run them through the pasta machine on the thinnest setting. And once I have that done, I will take them again 2 by 2 after I use the brush on them again. But this time I will run them through the third thinnest setting, because I don't want the colors to get so much one into the other so that the translucent wouldn't be able to be seen. I also get my needle pointy tool and do more texturizing, especially on the areas where the color is more is stronger. And that ragged one is the piece that was on the edges. Now I'm going to pass them through the pasta machine 2 by 2, and don't worry about those little ragged pieces on the edge, because we'll just stick them in the cane. Yes, this is a cane. I know it looks weird, but it's pretty much a cane because we are going to cut slices from it, and from now on we will treat it like a cane. And I am using the needle pointy tool again, and then I will stack all these, after which I will trim a little bit those edges that are uneven, put them right in the middle. Well, not really in the middle, more on the left side, and then cut the whole thing in two and stack it again. Now you must make sure that they are very well stacked, because at this point you will notice that the clay is quite hard. The alcohol inks have the quality of drying out the clay, so never use too much. Now get some translucent and a bit of gold and a bit of burnt umber, and this is what I mean by a bit. Mix them together, and then take about 1/3 of it and mix it with just a pinch of red. Now you take both pieces and you roll them in a sausage that you try to make them kind of equal in length, not so much in width, but in length. And then you just get them together and you start twisting. You just want to do a little bit of marbling, so you will do the twisting and reducing about 3 times. but not too many times, because you don't want those to be thoroughly mixed. You just want them to be marbled at this point. So 3 times should be just enough. After which, flatten it so you can get it through the pasta machine on the thinnest setting. And once you've done that, double it one and go with it through the pasta machine one more time. Now comes an interesting thing. Cut this piece in two in length. Then each of those pieces cutting in relatively thin triangles just by alternating diagonal cuts. And this is how you're supposed to cut them. Because now we are going to start doing the veining on the leaf. All that play with alcohol inks is just to do all the coloring of the fall leaves. Now we'll get a strip cut from the mix of gold and translucent as wide as those triangles are tall. And then we will put a piece, make sure that the strip is in the length of the triangle. And unite the triangles 2 by 2, as I said, with just the strip being just in the tip between them. Once you've done that, then you will, we have 12 of these triangles, so we will unite them in 2 groups of 6 by putting again a piece of strip, this time much more towards the tip of the triangle. And I will do this first one, and then I will do a close-up so you can see better what I'm doing, because you're supposed to set that strip in a specific way in order to form the veining, because that's the veining that gives the most beauty to this cane. This is a cane that's used mostly to cover to veneer all kinds of translucent things, you know, glass generally, for the fall leaf effect. And now watch carefully. What I am doing is I am putting the strip kind of like half in, half out. And I do the same when I'm attaching the next ones on the side. Make sure that you have the stripes going longitudinal on the triangles. And at the very last, you'll need to put one strip in the very middle, even if you do have a little bit hanging over from the sides. And put the last 2. So generally, try to work in 6s. That's the best. You can do in 4, but you won't have as many veins and it won't look that neat. And now what we have to do is to reduce these 2 canes that are practically like half an oval. Why I didn't do a full oval? Because honestly, an oval is as hard as to reduce as half an oval, number 1. And number 2, because you want them to be different. You don't want it to be the same thing. Don't round it up. You have to reduce it in this shape because you have to preserve those veins. And only by reducing them in this shape, you will get the veins thinner and longer without losing the direction and without them getting thicker. I'm going to reduce one of them all the way so you can see how it is reduced. And then I will reduce the other one off camera. Now cut each of them in 2. And again, use strips to put them together. This time you will make an oval. So round up one of the sides. Make sure that it is the side that's where the veins come together, and you only need to round up one of the sides, whichever seems to be the fattest. And now you will put them together again by placing strips of that mix of gold and translucent and red and burnt umber. And remember, we put aside the triangles that were from the edges with the ragged parts. We will use those for the tip of the leaf, because right now we are forming the final leaf. And then put one more piece uh, in the very tip. Now you need to make sure that they are all stuck well together. And once you do that, we reduce it one more to place the middle vein and form the final leaf. And being a noble, again, don't try to make it round, because if you are making it round, it's going to be losing the veins. So I'm reducing it until I can cut it in 4. I know, it kind of looks like a chunk of meat, doesn't it? That's usually what's happening whenever you put red in translucent, red and orange. This time I'm going to cut the strip a little bit wider and taller. And again, I am putting them together. Make sure always to look for where the veining comes together. Don't put it upside down. I'm taking those triangles and put them one on top of the other. And then place a small strip between them, because I had 4 uneven triangles. I am forming a little stack with them, 2 by 2. I make them oblong, and then I unite them, but with a vein through the whole length between them. And then I will be putting them between the top 2 lobes of the leaf. Make sure that you stick it well in there and you don't grab air pockets. Now I am putting on the last 2 lobes. Again, make sure that you put the end where the veining comes together. And now just start pressing all of it together and reduce it some. You need to get it for a good size slice. You need to get it about maybe 2 inches long, and flatten it a little bit, but again reduce it in an oval shape. Don't round it up. And after it is reduced, there is one more thing to do to it. This is how you can reduce it and help reducing it. You just roll it a little bit on the working surface and make sure to pinch the ends and push them in. But you can already see the beautiful veining. And then don't forget that always the translucent, anything translucent will not show its all beauty, all its beauty, until it is baked. And then once it is well reduced to get a decent amount of slices out of it, put back again the protection on your working surface. Grab your rigid blade and then make some cuts like this to imitate the serrations on the leaf, and then get some red ink, because you want the ink to penetrate a little bit in the clay on the edge, and spread it well with the paintbrush. Make sure that it goes a little bit in those cuts, in those serrations. And I will have to go again out a close-up because I moved that thing around and it will get out of the camera field of view. Help yourself with alcohol to make sure that you spread that ink. You don't want it to be too concentrated. You just want to have some red on the edge of the leaf. And then once you're done with that, just let it dry real good. And this is the last step before we start cutting the slices. Now, while that is dried, I made sure that there's no ink coming out of it. Start cutting some slices from the cane that I had put a tutorial about on my blog. I didn't want to make this video just longer than it is because it's already like half an hour. So try to cut even slices. Rotate the cane as you cut because you don't want your slices to become rectangular instead of square, because you will deform them a little bit in a little while. You'll have to get them through the thinnest setting on the pasta machine. And have those ready, put them aside. Flatten them a bit to make them ready to go through the pasta machine. When you go through the pasta machine, go first, on one direction through the third thinnest setting, then turn it around 90 degrees, go to the next thinnest until you get to the thinnest setting. Now, I think that my thinnest setting on my little Amaco is a little bit thicker than on other machines, so I don't know. I would say the thinnest workable for you. With this type of cane, do not cut straight because you will flatten it. I will show you how to hold it. Hold it like this and then cut in a diagonal and then move it on the other edge to cut. I know it seems a little bit complicated, but believe me, it's not. If I can do it, probably you can too. I'm going to put aside the ends of the cane and then cut some slices. I am going to cut some of them a little bit thicker so they can be made bigger when going through with them through the pasta machine, because I don't want to cover the that bowl with small leaves. I want to cover it with huge leaves. If you want, you can reduce the cane much further and then make small leaves if you want, and then maybe put this whole thing off until we do, because I'm going to do some translucent flower canes and then make a combination of leaves with flowers. Another thing, you can do this is a fall, but you can very well do this with shades of green if you want, to have a spring/summer, and then add some translucent flowers and butterflies to cover up a candle holder. And you don't have to get the exact same thing. I'm sure that you can find a lot of things at your dollar store or wherever. And then place some TLS on the bowl. Make sure that you smear it really good. Don't smear anything on the bottom, because if you're going to smear something on the bottom, you won't be able to work properly. You won't be able to set the bowl down. And then once you've got everything through the pasta machine, when you go with the leaves through the pasta machine, make sure that you put again the leaves on a diagonal. So on one of the sides, the same way that you cut them, don't put them straight in the length or in the width, because you'll get some very ugly shaped leaves. When you place them on the bowl, you can pull a little bit on them to make sure that they join properly. And you can also do a little bit of delicate contouring, cutting to not have any overlapping. And once you have set all the leaves you want to set, then you can start setting your spiral cane slices. And I used only the spiral cane slices for the bottom, and I have the leaves kind of circling. But of course, you can arrange them however you want. Just make sure that they are well stuck to the bowl. You didn't trap any air pockets. You see, I have gone with my spiral slices through the pasta machine, and that is why they are a little bit not squarish anymore, but it's fine. This is what you want. You can use your roller to make sure that everything is at the same thickness. And again, you can cut out a little bit from the slices so they would fit well with the serrations in the leaves. And then you pretty much do like a puzzle to cover all the area. And I'm just using this slice. This is just an idea. You don't have to use this. As I said, you can use translucent flower canes. You can use translucent butterflies. You can make those leaves small. You don't have to make them this big. I just wanted something with huge leaves that would remind me of fall, because I think that it would look nice in fall. And you can use a candle in there. I usually don't like to use candles in anything polymer clay because there's this thing with heating up. So I have a whole bunch of those little LED fake candles that I also get at the dollar store. And they don't make a lot of light, that's true. I mean, you've seen in the beginning of the video, and but they are still pretty. Then take your shaping tool and indent some veining in the leaves. You will see why. That will be the last step of the bowl. Excuse me. But do some indentations, veining the leaves. And then once you set the bottom on, of course, don't forget to apply some liquid clay and puzzle the spirals or the pieces of leaf. Honestly, I still have enough left that I think I'm going to make a little bowl, because I just love the way they came out. And I think I'm going to make a little bowl out of them. I did not want to have the top edge even. I just liked it the way it is, uneven. So once you make sure that everything is even, you bake it, of course, with the bottom up. And this is how it looks like. You cannot see very well in this angle, but I will do at the end, not just taping it with a light inside in the dark, but also taping it near a window and from the side so you can see properly. Now what we are going to do is to use some green alcohol ink first to enhance that veining. First, spray some alcohol to moisten the leaf area. Have your paintbrush close, and then start dropping some alcohol ink on those veins. If it has a tendency to go where it shouldn't, use the paintbrush to bring it back on track. But normally it should just try to go in the depression of the veins that you have made. And do that all over wherever you have made veins. It's okay if there's some left outside of the veins, because I'll show you how we wipe it off. But make sure that you hold the bowl so this area that you're applying the alcohol ink on is relatively horizontal, so it wouldn't start dripping all over the place. And once you have done that, wait for it to dry. Yes, even if it dries out, it will still be cleanable. No worries. So do that on all the veining that you have on the bowl, on the leaves on the bowl, candle holder, however you want to call it. And see how it has the tendency to go in the veins, and it's darker in the veins area. And of course, you don't have to wipe it off. If you like the effect the way it is, you can leave it like that. But grab a paper towel once it looks dry and put some alcohol on it, and then let it evaporate a little until it's just barely moist. And then start very rapidly rub just once. You don't want to take off too much of the ink. Then stop, turn around the paper towel where it is dry, where it has no alcohol on it, and then rub a little bit more. And this time you can rub more thoroughly because it will not go in the veining. And we are pretty much done. I'm not going to varnish it because I like the look it has. It's almost like a Galle glass look. And I will show you in a minute how it looks like in the dark with the light inside. And see, unfortunately, the little LED candle doesn't put out a lot of light. That, and also even with all the blinds down, I still didn't manage to make it too dark in the room. But this is pretty much how it looked like in the daylight as well. You see those spirals just form that beautiful. Again, it looks a little bit, I wanted to make it look like a galle. If you're not familiar with it, look it up online. But this is it. Happy claying!